Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 700 Club. Most Americans assume the United States is the world's unrivaled nuclear superpower. But the truth is, America's nuclear stockpile has shrunk significantly.
Well, meanwhile, China is building nuclear weapons at a rapid pace. Arms experts believe American security is at risk. CBN's Dale Hurd reports.
Since the end of the Cold War, the United States has dramatically reduced the number of nuclear weapons it has deployed or in storage. That arsenal today is roughly 90% smaller than at the height of the nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union. America's nuclear stockpile has fallen to levels not seen since the 1960s, while China has embarked on an unprecedented nuclear buildup. The U.S. only has about 1,700 deployed nuclear warheads, and the newest is over 35 years old. In Asia, since the 1960s, the U.S. has withdrawn its nuclear weapons from Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. If war were to break out over Taiwan, experts fear our base in Guam could be neutralized in a Chinese first strike, and the U.S. would not be able to respond in kind.
All of this requires urgent action.
Frank Gaffney, the host of Securing America, served as Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration, when a strategy of peace through strength and a nuclear arms buildup helped defeat the Soviet Union.
All of that has essentially gone over the side. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to see that we are hoping that nobody notices that we haven't done a whole lot with our nuclear deterrent since I left the Pentagon.
China, meanwhile, has taken a different course, tripling the size of its nuclear arsenal in just 5 years. It's now the planet's fastest growing nuclear power.
I think that they are increasing the size of their nuclear arsenal because they want to use it to coerce others into standing down.
China expert Gordon Chang believes Beijing learned a lesson from the way Vladimir Putin used the threat of nuclear war to deter the West from more direct involvement in Ukraine.
The Chinese saw that this actually works. I think that they will precede any invasion of Taiwan, Japan, whatever, with threats to use their nuclear weapons to get the U.S. not to come to the aid of its friends and partners.
The U.S. military does have new nuclear weapons systems under development. But having dealt with the Soviets, Gaffney thinks China has even more nuclear weapons than the world thinks it has, some stored in its western desert.
They never bought this idea that Ronald Reagan, my old and much revered boss, famously said, which is a nuclear war can never be won and must never be fought. They believe nuclear war is something that can be used decisively.
To counter China, some defense experts believe the U.S. would need to return at least some nuclear weapons to bases in Asia. And the South Koreans in a poll have already said they would welcome that.
All right, Dale Hurd joins us now for more. Dale, what an alarming report. Let's talk about the cost. How big a buildup do we need, and can we even afford it?
A few years ago, I would have said, of course we can afford it. Now I'm looking at these federal budget numbers, and I'm not so sure. And we also have a national mood right now of America first, and I understand that. We can't continue to be the policeman of the world. But we're not talking about rebuilding a Cold War arsenal. We're talking about showing our adversaries that we still care, that we're still in the game, because a nation like China only respects strength. And then we have to decide, are we going to give Asia to China? Because there's all kinds of chatter in security circles that China intends to take Taiwan one way or another in 2 years. And are we willing to counter that threat by redeploying nuclear weapons in Asia? As we saw, the Koreans would welcome that. But I don't think at all that we have the national will to do that.
And I don't think Americans realize we are in the status we are now. Interesting timing for your report, because President Trump recently announced a plan for the Golden Dome missile defense similar to Israel's Iron Dome. What role could that play?
Well, it would certainly be effective against, let's say, a first strike against the continental United States. But I've always felt that if nuclear weapons are ever used again, it's going to be a small low-yield battlefield tactical nuclear weapon. And in fact, this is a part of, and by the way, that would affect only, let's say, a half mile rather than wiping out a city or a state. That is a part of Russian military doctrine. It's called escalate to de-escalate. And the idea is you use one of these small nuclear weapons to get the other side to either give up or come to the negotiating table. And at one point, Russia had 10 times the number of tactical nukes that the United States has. And I've always feared that if things went really badly in Ukraine for the Russians, that Putin might use one of these. And I'm not confident that the West or the United States would know how to respond to that.
All right, Dale, thank you for reporting. We appreciate you joining us today. Sure. In other news, President Trump is showing his frustration with Russia's Vladimir Putin. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John.
Thanks, Andrew. The president posting harsh words over Russia's massive weekend attacks on Ukraine. At least 29 people died as hundreds of drones and missiles struck Ukrainian cities. On Truth Social, Trump said of Putin, quote, "He has gone absolutely crazy," and that he is needlessly killing a lot of people for no reason. The Kremlin called the president's remarks, quote, "an emotional reaction." Earlier in the day, the president honored America's fallen service members at Arlington National Cemetery. In a tradition that dates back to almost a century, the president placed a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, then addressed Gold Star families at the service.
We share in the sorrow of their beloved families, and as one nation, we give thanks for the ultimate gift they have so selflessly given to all of us.
Also on Monday, the president expressed optimism about talks with Tehran, even though there's still a disagreement over Iran's ability to enrich uranium. CBN's Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
On Monday, Iran's foreign ministry said they will not consider temporarily suspending uranium enrichment. But over the weekend, President Trump said the two sides have made serious progress.
We had some very good talks with Iran yesterday and today, and let's see what happens. But I think we could have some good news on the Iran front.
The talks could fall apart over uranium enrichment used for developing a nuclear weapon. The U.S. insists Iran give up enrichment. Iran insists it won't. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited Israel over the weekend, bringing a message to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
President Trump specifically sent me here to have a conversation with the Prime Minister about how those negotiations are going and how important it is that we stay united and let this process play out. It was a very candid conversation.
Israel's Channel 12 is reporting Netanyahu and Trump engaged last week in a heated conversation over how to confront Iran. The Prime Minister's office denies the report and says they agree that Iran cannot obtain nuclear weapons. In Gaza, Israel is expanding its operation to finally defeat Hamas and release the hostages. President Trump would also like to see the fighting stop.
Likewise with Hamas on Gaza. We want to see if we can stop that. And Israel, we've been talking to them, and we want to see if we can stop that whole situation as quickly as possible.
Secretary Noem also came to mourn the two young Israeli embassy workers gunned down in Washington last week. Their alleged killer chanted "Free Palestine" as police arrested him. On Monday, tens of thousands marched through the old city of Jerusalem and gathered at the Western Wall to celebrate Jerusalem Day. It marks June 6, 1967, when Israeli paratroopers captured the old city and the Temple Mount for the first time in more than 2,000 years.
We never forget Jerusalem. Jerusalem, the bird of our soul, is the heart of the nation. If you remove the heart from the body will not exist. And therefore, we will not allow anyone to remove Jerusalem from our hands. Jerusalem, our eternal capital, was reunited 58 years ago in the Six-Day War. It will never be divided again.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Chris. Well, here at home, severe weather will continue to pound Gulf states into midweek. Meanwhile, residents of Kentucky are still dealing with the devastation of powerful tornadoes that rip through their communities. CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground in London, Kentucky, where the town's mayor and local churches are working together to help bring healing to the community.
London is a small town with big ideals. This is family. You know, no matter where you go around in this city, people's going to treat you good.
We're like a big family, and if something happens, we're going to be there, because it doesn't matter what disaster hits our little area, we want to help one another. So we had a tornado hit here in Laurel County on Friday night.
You could only see the debris in your headlights or where a flashlight was. You knew it was bad. It wasn't until the next morning when daylight broke that I realized how bad this was.
We're here on the ground in London, Kentucky, where the devastating tornado hit just a few days ago. We got on the road to come and help the hurting people in this community. We come out with a load of supplies, and we were looking for a place that we could set up that was close to the devastation. We were praying that God would lead us. They were receiving food and supplies at a company called WB Transport, and as we were unloading this, they asked if they could have some more food.
Without God, we're not going to get through this. We need Him. So to allow anybody that is pushing the message of Christ to be here, utilizing my building or city property, whatever, I'm going to do it.
We've been able to set our mobile kitchen, our work order trailers, and our construction trailers, and been able to just minister to the people in this community. It's been such a wonderful thing. Without the support of the mayor and the support of WB Transportation, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing.
A group of me and my coworkers came out here, and we're helping Operation Blessing with passing out meals to the workers and the people of the community that were affected.
You can just see the Lord through this. Like, He takes these really bad things and He turns it for good. You see all these people out here that are just walking humbly and helping each other out, and that's what the Lord tells us to do, is to serve others.
We're still doing a lot of work here. There's still a lot of devastation. One thing that we're starting to do, we're kicking up our work orders, so we're going out into the communities to help families recover.
When you're out here in this construction, being able to get a hot meal and then having somebody say, hey, can I pray with you? That means a lot.
We just want to say thank you for helping us, all the people that have donated, all the people that have volunteered. Keep praying. Just any little thing matters. It helps.
We want to thank you for supporting us. We want to thank you for giving. We want to thank you for volunteering. We want to thank you for praying for us. And as we continue to do God's work, may God richly bless you.
Turning the bad into a good in a town that's like family. Andrew?
Amen, John. Isn't that beautiful, friends, when you see that, all those Operation Blessing tents and T-shirts and grocery bags and trucks? That story, the tornado in Kentucky's kind of out of the news cycle now, isn't it? But not for the people affected, not for those without homes, not for those going through rubble, not for those who are hopeless. But Operation Blessing, you heard Kevin, that great servant of Jesus there, say, Operation Blessing was praying, where do we go, who do we serve, what church can we connect to? That's one of the beautiful things of what you make possible as a 700 Club member. You're connecting Operation Blessing with local churches to people in need. The churches set up Operation Blessing, and we can meet the needs of people. Thank you, 700 Club partners. You're making this possible, and it's going to be a long haul. If you're not a 700 Club member, you can see a portion of your gift goes into the work of Operation Blessing. And we were on the ground quickly. We're going to be there for a while. It's our honor, our privilege. It's humbling to hear people say thank you. They're thanking you, 700 Club partners. To become a 700 Club member, just call 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to cbn.com, or you can text CBN to 71777 and help Operation Blessing help bring people hope. We say thank you.